Right, so in the last two videos, we learned how to actually convert a curve into a straight line equation by using ln function, right? Okay, and then the very first video about power law is how are you going to compare it with y equals to mx plus c, and from there how you estimate the value that you need from the original equation. Okay, then after that, the second video, we learn how to sketch graph when you are given some data. So how are you going to use the data to sketch graph, and from the graph that you sketch, you actually estimate the values of the original equation. All right, so that's what you cover for second video. But if you go through second video, you will see that the answer that you get when sketching graph is very much different from different people. Okay, because the best fit of straight line will be different when you are drawing it up. So the best fit of straight line that I draw and also the best fit of straight line that you draw will be different, and therefore the values that we get can be quite different. Okay, the difference is not very small one, it can be quite big also. Alright, so to avoid this kind of problem in the exam, right? So A-level, the impossible asks you to draw the graph for everyone, for every of you, and then by using your own graph, and then you estimate the value. So the range of answer will be very different. Therefore, to solve this problem, generally in the exam style question, usually they will give you the graph straight away, or they will give you some alternate information. Then you try to estimate the value of the original equation from the information given. So like example 12, as you can see in the share screen here. Okay, so you will see that, okay, they straight away give you a graph with some points plotted, right, with some points plotted, and then I think they want you to actually estimate the value of certain unknown for the original equation. Okay, so you can read the question first before we start. All right, so this is a graph given, and then from the question itself, they say there are two variable quantities, x and y, are related by the equation y equals to ax power n. So this is the original equation, y equals to ax power n, where a and n are constants. The diagram shows the result of plotting ln y against ln x. So this graph is actually ln y against ln x for 4 pairs of value of x and y. So they want you to use the diagram to estimate the value of a and also n. Okay, so here they should give you a graph already. So they actually want you to estimate the value of a and n. Alright, so let's have a look for the original first. Okay, so now you want to link this original equation with the straight line equation. So to compare it with the straight line equation, you need to take ln. Okay, so again, when you take ln both sides and you try to expand it, expand everything, all right? So you have n ln x, and after that you need to compare this equation with equation y equals to mx plus c. So you're having c here plus mx. So for this question itself, it already tell you that the y-axis is ln y, which is true, and then the x-axis is ln x. So that means you compare the x with ln x. Therefore, the y-intercept will be ln a, and also the gradient will be n. So to get the value for ln the a and also the n is very simple. You need to get the y-intercept and also to get the gradient of this line, okay, of this graph. All right, so now let's have a look for the graph here. If you use ruler to try to join the equation, you will see that these 4 points can form a straight line. If you use a ruler to draw, you realize the line can pass through all the 4 points here. All right, okay, then now you can have a look for the y-intercept here. So this is the y-intercept. All right, so if you draw your graph correctly, your y-intercept value, if I'm not mistaken, it should be 0.7. So ln a should be equals to 0.7. All right, of course, the graph that I draw here might not be so accurate. Yes, it's 0.7, more or less Okay, so ln A is equal to 0.7, and therefore your A is E 0.7, and from here you can get a value of A very easily, which is 2.01. So if let's say they give you the graph straight away, then at least most of us can get the value from their graph and we'll get the same value. If let's say we are drawing our own graph, definitely the best way of straight line will be all different, and then our answer will be all different. Okay, right, so this is the value for A, and now I want to get the value for gradient. So how can I get the gradient from the graph? Again, you can use any 2 points that you like. So for me, I'm using this point itself. Okay, and also where is it now? 1 and 1.2. Okay, then I'm using 0.7. I'm using this one, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Is it this one? Oh no, I'm using this point. Alright, I'm using these 2 points to get my gradient from the graph. Okay, you can use any other 2 points that you like. Okay, so I'm using this point. So when I apply the formula for gradient, I will have 1 minus 0.7 divided by 1.2 minus 0. So very straightforward, I will get the gradient value 0.25. And when you compare the equation here, the gradient is equal to n, right? So the value of n also equals to 0.25. Alright, so I believe that even if you cannot get the answer 0.25, your answer will be very, very close to 0.25 as well, because the graph is given. So the value will not be very different. Okay, because I'm referring to the same graph. Understand or not? Alright, so this is what we have for example 12. So usually in A-level exam style question, they will straight away give you a graph rather than they ask you to sketch a graph yourself. Alright, to solve the problem that all our answer will be different. Okay, so this is what we have for example 12. Okay, then let's continue to example 13. Okay, so for example 13, you will see that for this example, they didn't give you any graph. But by using the suitable information, you should be able to get an answer as well. Alright, so again, you can have a look. The original equation is this. Okay, y power 3 equals to a e power 2x. And after that, the graph of ln y, again, x is a straight line. So here they tell you that the y-axis, they draw the graph with ln y as y-axis, and also the x as x-axis value. After you draw this graph, you get a straight line. So they want to find the gradient of this line. Okay, so before you find the gradient, again, every time you need to try to convert the original equation and compare it with y equals to mx plus c first. Okay, so I'm having y power 3 equals to a e power 2x. So to expand it, I take on both sides. I'm having this. And after that, I will bring all the power in front. So it will become 3 ln y equals to ln a plus 2x ln e. But you should know that the ln e is equals to 1. Therefore, you have ln a plus 2x. So this is 1. Alright, okay. Then now, for this question, on my y-axis is ln y only. The y-axis, I don't want it to be 3 ln y. Therefore, to make the 3 disappear, you move the 3 to the right-hand side. You're having 1 over 3 ln a plus 2 over 3x. Okay, so now only you start to compare the straight line equation with this. So y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so just now they already tell you, right, the y-axis is ln y, which is correct. If let's say you didn't move the 3 over, it is wrong, because in the question itself, they tell y-axis must be ln y. Okay, so the 3 must be moving over, must be moved over, right? And then x-axis is x. Therefore, if you compare it straight away, c should be 1 over 3 ln a and m should be 2 over 3. And for this question, they are asking you to find the gradient of this line. So after comparison, you will get the gradient very easily, which is 2 over 3. Okay, so you will see that for all these kind of questions, their process is more or less the same one. If you get the original equation, you try to take ln both sides, expand it, and then compare it with y equals to mx plus c. So I hope that you get some idea from here. You can see the process is very standard. Right, then after that you compare and then you try to get the value that you want. So for m, which is 2 over 3, which is very, very straightforward here. Okay, then now if you continue to part number 2, okay, given that the line intersects the axis of ln y at the point where ln y equals to 0.5. Find the values of a correct to 2 decimal places. Alright, so here they said ln y equals to 0.5. So ln y is your y-axis, right? So the value for the value that they cut the y-axis is 0.5, which means this is y-intercept. And also it means it is the value of c. Alright, so if you compare the equation here, c equals to 1 over 3 ln a. So 1 over 3 ln a equals to c. And from here, if you move all the number to one side, then I think you will get the answer, the value for a very easily. Okay, so you bring the base e over, it becomes e power 1.5, and therefore you'll get e equals to 4.48. Alright, so for exam 12 and 13, it shows very clearly how the exam question will ask. Okay, for this kind of question, they won't ask you to sketch a graph, but they will give you all the information. They want you to try to link the straight line equation, y equals to mx plus c, with the equation that you already take ln both sides and expand. Alright, so after discussing all these examples, I hope that you roughly have the idea. Although the drawing graph part usually they won't ask in the exam, but that two example actually helps you to understand better how you estimate the value, instead of you just memorize the step. Alright, so after this example 13, that means that we already completed our chapter 2. Alright, so the next thing you need to do is try to attempt the tutorial questions, so of course, and if you complete the tutorial question already, then you can continue with the past year question. So for this chapter is a very short chapter, therefore not many questions actually comes from this chapter, not many. There are some, but not a lot. Okay, so you can try the past year question if let's say you understand everything already and see how they actually ask you the question from this topic. Alright, okay, so for the next video, we will continue with our chapter 3 already, the trigo part. Alright, so see you in the next video.